Good morning, children. Today we are going to see History Chapter 8 Women, Caste and Reform. Okay. See, children, in this chapter we are going to learn about social and religious evils in 19th century India, then contributions of different reformers in abolishing those evils, then role of women in social reform. Okay, so at first we are going to see how women in India 200 years ago, how was their position. See, children, life of women in India 200 years ago was very different. At present in worldwide, women's empowerment is one of the most important agendas of our country. Yes, always the politicians used to say we will give more importance to women's empowerment, right? Why? Because women suffered a lot in early 18th century and 19th century and all. Okay. Actually, at present we know very well women are given a number of rights, right? Such as the right to education, they can work, in fact they can vote in elections, etc. Isn't it? But in old times it was not so easy. In fact, women were deprived, means ஒடுக்கப்பட்ட, அவங்களோட சலுகைகள் மறுக்கப்பட்ட, அவங்களோட நிலைமை எப்படி தான் இருந்துச்சு, ரொம்ப ஒடுக்கப்பட்ட நிலைமையில் இருந்தாங்க, அவங்களுக்கான எந்த சலுகைகளும் கிடையாது. ஓகே, பட் நவ் நாட் லைக் தட். Women are going to work and all the rights they are having, right? In fact, in earlier they were not allowed to go to school. In fact, they were married at an early age. Yes, it is true that many kids were married before they attained the age of 18, which now is legal age for girls to marry. Yes, so the things at the time were so different, that were different laws for both men and women. Even both Hindu and Muslim men could marry more than one wife, but a widow woman was never allowed to remarry. Okay. See, children, let me tell you, there are many evils from which women suffered. Okay, some of them are as follows. First one is female infanticide. See, children, what do you mean by female infanticide? The girl babies குழந்தையாக இருக்கப்பவே அதை கில் பண்ணுறது, அதாவது பெண் குழந்தையாக இருக்கப்பவே அதை கில் பண்ணிடுறது. சரி, அதுக்கு எக்ஸாக்ட் தமிழ் வேர்டு என்னென்னா பெண் சிசு கொலைன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஓகே, ஆக்சுவலி பர்த் ஆஃப் த கேர்ள் சைல்டு வாஸ் கன்சிடர் இன்ஆஸ்பீஷியஸ் அண்ட் கர்ஸ். அது வந்து ஒரு சாபமாக பார்ப்பாங்க. ஹென்ஸ் த ப்ராக்டிஸ் ஆஃப் ஃபீமேல் இன்ஃபான்டிசைட் ஆர் கில்லிங் த கேர்ள் சைல்டு ப்ரிவைல்ட் வைட்லி. அது வந்து ரொம்ப வைட் ஸ்ப்ரெட்டாக இருந்தது. தென் பாலிகாமி. See, children, the practice of keeping more than one wife also prevailed in India. அதாவது பலதார மனம்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஒருவர் நிறைய பேரை, மென்னுக்கான அது ஒரு அவங்களுக்கான ஒரு ரைட்ஸ் இருந்தது. மீன்ஸ் அவங்க அதை ப்ராக்டிஸாக வச்சுக்கிட்டாங்க. அதனால் பலதார மனம், ஒருத்தர் மட்டும் இல்லாமல் யார் வேணாலும் அவங்க மேரி பண்ணிக்கலாம், அந்த மாதிரியான ஒரு ப்ராக்டிஸ் இருந்தது. ஸோ தட் ஆல்சோ affected women. Okay, then next, child marriage. Even girls were married off in childhood. It had many ill effects. Yes, first, early marriage put an end to their education. Yes, do you agree? Yes. Then they could not get the opportunity for mental development. Yes, of course, because they are not getting education, their they won't get opportunity to develop their mental ability, right? Then secondly, they would become mothers at a very tender age, which was harmful for their health and physical development as well as for the child. That also one defect. So as of now, I have told you about female infanticide, then polygamy, then child marriage, then now widowhood. Yes, See, early marriage and that too with men of much older age resulted in their becoming widows at an early age. Yes, ரொம்ப aged person, ரொம்ப young girl. Then age difference was more. Then automatically what will happen? In earlier age, they used to become a widow. But widowhood was considered inauspicious. Yes, அவங்கள வந்து ஒரு inauspicious, ரொம்ப துரதிர்ஷ்டமாக நினைப்பாங்க அவங்கள பார்த்தாவே. Widows were deprived of all pleasures and were forced to lead like a secluded life. They were not allowed to remarry and were subjected to many sufferings. See children, secluded means not seen. Like அவங்கள வந்து ஒரு மறைவான இடத்துல யாருமே பார்க்க முடியாத ஒரு இடத்துல தான் ரொம்ப மறைஞ்சு தான் இருப்பாங்க. ஓகே, டைரெக்டாக எல்லாத்துக்கூடையும் மிங்கிள் ஆகிட்டு அவங்களோட லைஃப் ஸ்டைல் அப்படி இருக்காது. ஓகே, தென் சதி. Children, the most inhuman custom was that of sati. See, women were required to burn themselves on the funeral pyre of their husbands. You imagine if any girl's husband dies, the girl also should jump into the funeral pyre of her husband. Actually, women who did it willingly were considered sacred and were revered as sati. அவங்கள வந்து ரொம்ப புனிதமாக அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு சத்தின்னு அவங்கள சொல்லுவாங்க. Those who objected, they were forcefully pushed on to the burning fire. How it will be? You imagine? This inhuman practice was tried to be glorified. அதையும் வந்து ரொம்ப புகழ்ந்து பேசிட்டு இருந்தாங்க அப்போ சத்தியை. So, the only domain of women was within the four walls of the house. So, they were not to be educated. In fact, most of these evils continued without resistance because of the lack of education among women. So, education இல்லாததுனால இது ரொம்ப சர்வசாதாரணமாக இந்த ஈவில்ஸ் எல்லாம் சொசைட்டியில் ப்ராக்டிஸ் ஆகிட்டு இருந்தது. Because lack of education among women. Got it, children? So, what were many evils from which women suffered? There were many evils from which women suffered. Some of them are female infanticide, polygamy, child marriage, widowhood, and sati. These are the evil practices affected women very badly. Got it, children? And differences between men and women were not the only ones present in our country. See children, this was not the only problem, but also there were differences among castes also. ஜாதி பிரிவினை நிறைய இருந்தது. So, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas were considered upper caste. Vaishyas, who were the traders or money lenders, were placed after them, and peasants and the artisans such as weavers and potters were known as Shudras. Okay, those who were considered the lowest were the ones who were into the work of cleaning villages and cities. So that these jobs were considered as the polluting jobs by the upper caste. அவங்க நினச்சாங்க இதெல்லாம் பொல்யூட் பண்ணுற ஜாப் அப்படின்ட்டு. So that they were not allowed to enter temples. Then they were not allowed to draw water from the upper caste groups well. கிணத்துலேருந்து அவங்களோட கிணத்துலேருந்து தண்ணி எடுக்க முடியாது. They were treated as inferior humans. அவங்கள வந்து ரொம்ப ரொம்ப லோ லெவலில் லோ ஸ்டேட்டஸில் வச்சு ட்ரீட் பண்ணாங்க. So, the upper caste also treated many of these groups at the bottom as untouchable. அவங்கள வந்து ஒரு தீண்டத்தகாதவர்களாக ட்ரீட் பண்ணாங்க. So that they were not allowed to enter temples and they were not allowed to draw water from the wells used by the upper caste. Okay. But over the 19th and 20th centuries, many of these customs and practices slowly changed. Let's see how this became possible. Okay. Children, from early 19th century, people started doing debates regarding discussions and uh, regarding social customs and practices taking on a new shape. Actually, one major reason was the development of the books, newspapers, magazines, leaflets and pamphlets which started printing. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி வரைக்கும் இந்த சோஷியல் ஈவில்ஸை பற்றின ஒரு டிபேட்டே இருக்காது, ஒரு டிஸ்கஷனே இருக்காது. பட் எப்போ இது நான் பிரிண்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆக ஆரம்பித்ததுலேருந்து, நியூஸ் பேப்பர் பிரிண்ட் ஆகி இந்த மாதிரி பிரிண்டிங் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆனதுக்கப்புறம் இந்த சோஷியல் ஈவில்ஸோடைய ப்ராக்டிஸ் வாஸ் இன்க்ரீஸ்ட். Okay, so this made ordinary people read about the social issues and even try to express what they thought about various social, political and economic issues. Yes, after printing started, then whatever they thought, they were ready to express their views regarding whether it may be in political or economic or social issues. So this resulted in the expansion of such debates and led to movements which brought social change. நிறைய social changesக்கு கொண்டு வரதுக்கு இது ஒரு பேசிக்காக இருந்தது. So such type of debates were initiated by Indian reformers, and one such reformer was Rajaram Mohan Roy from 1772 to 1833. Okay, see, Rajaram Mohan Roy was a great reformer. What do you mean by reform, children? Make changes means something, especially an institution or practices, in order to improve it, the changes should be brought. So that is called reform. So make changes. Okay, so reformers, who are all known as reformers? They want to eradicate the social evils in order to improve the society, in order to improve the positions of the deprived class. Okay, so reformers generally felt that the evils of the society should be removed. Okay, to ensure these changes, they start persuading people to give up old practices and adapt a new way of life. They always encourage the people to do something through reasoning, whether it is right or wrong, just you reason and do. So you give up your old practices and adapt a new way of life was persuaded by the reformers. Okay. So, Rajaram Mohan Roy founded the Brahma Sabha, actually which later came to be known as the Brahma Samaj in Calcutta. So, who founded Brahma Samaj? Rajaram Mohan Roy. Where did he found Brahma Samaj? In Calcutta. Okay, so Brahma Samaj was founded by whom? Rajaram Mohan Roy. Got it? So, people like Rajaram Mohan Roy are known as reformer because what they felt that the evils of the society should be removed, right? So, Rajaram Mohan Roy wanted to spread the knowledge of Western education in the country. He thought that so that only he could bring equality for women. So, according to him, women were forced to stay at home and do the household works. In fact, they were never allowed to go out and get an education. Okay, so how did he change their life widows? Let's see this. See, children, the thing which had a major effect on Rajaram Mohan Roy was the bad condition of widows in India. Seeing the widows' situation, he felt very bad. He thought that, however, we should bring some changes of their life. So he began a campaign against the practice of sati. Campaign means that ஒரு பொதுக்கூட்டம் மாதிரி நடத்துறது, இந்த மாதிரியெல்லாம். So Ram Mohan Roy was a learned man who knew many languages. In fact, he was well versed in Sanskrit, Persian, and several other foreign languages. So, through his writings, he tried to prove that there was no evidence of sati system in the ancient text. நம்ம இப்போ ஃபாலோ பண்ணுற சதியை பற்றி நம்மளோட ஏன்ஷியன்ட் புக்கில் நம்மளுடைய டெக்ஸ்டில் சீக்ரெட் டெக்ஸ்டில் எல்லாம் எதுவுமே கிடையாது. By the early 19th century, as Britishers began to criticize the Indian traditions, yes, they thought that India is an uncivilized country, need to be civilized. For that, they need Western education, isn't it? Yes. And Rajaram Mohan Roy got support from the British officials who had also begun to criticize Indian traditions and customs by the early 19th century. So finally, in 1829, the practice of sati was banned. So in which year the practice of sati was banned? In the year 1829. In fact, who was the Governor General of India during 1829? Lord William Bentinck. Okay, so in the year 1829, the practice of sati was banned with the great effort of Rajaram Mohan Roy. Got it? See children, Rajaram Mohan Roy is also known as the father of modern India. Okay. Now we are going to see about Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Was one of the most famous reformers. Okay. Actually, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was a social reformer, philosopher, and an educationalist with a modern vision. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar used the ancient text to suggest the widows could marry, because he took more efforts to bring widows remarriage. Okay, because so that he used the ancient text to suggest the widows could remarry. So in fact, he got strong opposition by Orthodox Hindus. However, the British government supported Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar's view, and the government passed the Hindu Widow Remarriage Act in 1856. So in which year Hindu Widow Remarriage Act was passed? In the year 1856. Due to his Vidyasagar's effort, it was passed by the British. Okay, and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar strongly believed that the status of women and all kinds of injustice and inequalities that they face could be changed only through education. So he thought that through education only, these are the injustice and evils, inequalities, all kinds of problems could be changed. Okay, so that he founded many schools, girls institutions. Okay. In fact, those times people had fear to send girls to get education. The reasons were the fear that schools would take girls away from home, and also this would prevent them from doing their household works. Then many people felt that sending girls through public places in order to reach school would have a corrupting influence on them, and also many people felt that girls should stay away from public spaces. ஸோ நிறைய என்ன நினைக்கிறாங்க, ஸ்கூலுக்கு போனால் ரொம்ப தூரம் பப்ளிக் பிளேசஸ்க்கெலாம் போகிற மாதிரி வரும், அது அவங்க வந்து கரப்டட் திங்ஸ் எல்லாம் இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் பண்ணும், அண்டு அவங்க வந்து வீட்டு வேலைகள்லாம் செய்கிறதுலேருந்து ரிலீவ் ஆகிடுவாங்க, அப்படியெல்லாம் இருக்கக்கூடாது. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி ரீசன்ஸால் அவங்க இன்ஃபேக்ட் ஒன் மோர் திங், எஜுகேஷன், இஃப் தே கெட் எஜுகேஷன் தே வுட் பிகம் அ விடோ, லைக் தட் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் பிலீஃப்ஸ் ஆல்சோ வாஸ் தேர். Then Swami Dayananda Saraswati was the founder of the Arya Samaj. He also raised his voice in favor of widow remarriage. Okay, and also in the Telugu speaking areas of the Madras Presidency, Veerasalingam Pandulu formed an association for widow remarriage. Okay, so in Telugu speaking areas of the Madras Presidency, who founded an association for widow remarriage? Veerasalingam Pandulu. Got it? You know, children, in the year 1875, students of Hindu Mahila Vidyalaya. Actually, what is the speciality? You know, this is the first school were set up only for girls in the 19th century. Okay, so the Hindu Mahila Vidyalaya was one of the first institutions to provide girls with the kind of learning that was usual for boys at that time. Okay, you know, children, from the early 20th century, Muslim women like Begums of Bhopal played a notable role in promoting education among women. Begums of Bhopal played a vital role in promoting education among women. In fact, they founded a primary school for girls at Aligarh. Then another remarkable woman, Begum Rokia Saukat Hussain. She also started schools for Muslim girls in Patna and Calcutta. So Begum Rokia Saukat Hussain started schools for Muslim girls where? In Patna and Calcutta. Okay, so she was a fearless critic of conservative ideas. ரொம்ப பழமைவாத கருத்துக்களுக்கெல்லாம் ரொம்ப பயமே இல்லாமல் கிரிட்டிசைஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க. And arguing that religious leaders of every faith accorded an inferior place to women. இந்த மாதிரி எல்லா நம்பிக்கைகள்லையும் விமனை வந்து ரொம்ப இன்ஃபீரியராக வச்சுருக்கிறீங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லி ரொம்ப ஆர்கியூ பண்ணுவாங்க. So by the 1880s, Indian women began to enter universities. In fact, some of them trained to be doctors, some of them became teachers. In fact, many women began to write and publish their critical views on the place of women in society. Now, let me tell you about Tarabai Shinde. Actually, she was a social reformer. You know, children, Tarabai Shinde was a woman who got education at home at Pune. She is better known for publishing a book named Stree Purustulna. Okay, meaning a comparison between women and men. So she wrote in this book and also criticizes the social differences between men and women. So who is the author of the book Stree Purustulna? Tarabai Shinde. Okay. Next, we will see about Pandita Ramabai. Pandita Ramabai was a great scholar of Sanskrit. Okay, she found Hinduism very oppressive towards women and wrote a book about the pathetic condition of Hindu women belonging to upper caste. அவங்களோட pathetic situation பற்றி அவங்களோட புக்கில் எழுதியிருக்காங்க. எஸ்பெஷலி இன் அப்பர் காஸ்டில் விமனோடைய சுச்சுவேஷன் என்ன. She started a widow's home at Pune to provide shelter to widows who had been maltreated by their husbands' relatives. So here women were given training to make them self-dependent. ஸோ அவங்களுக்கு அங்கெல்லாம் நல்லா ட்ரெயின் பண்ணி அவங்க ரொம்ப செல்ஃப் கான்ஃபிடென்ஸோடு அவங்கள நம்பி மட்டும் இருக்கணுங்கிறத ட்ரெயின் பண்ணி இருக்கிற இடமா ஒரு ஷெல்டராக அவங்க கொடுத்தாங்க. யாருக்கு? விடோஸ். ஸோ in 19th century, many women wrote books, edited magazines, then founded schools and training centers and set up women's associations. Okay, so from the early 20th century, they formed political pressure groups to push through laws of female suffrage, the right to vote. Okay, suffrage means the right to vote, and better health care and education for women. So some of them joined various kinds of nationalist and socialist movements from the 1920s. 1920லேருந்து அவங்க நிறைய நேஷ்னல் மூமெண்ட் அண்ட் நேஷ்னலிஸ்ட் மூமெண்ட் கூடவே அவங்க ஜாயின் பண்ணி ஒர்க் பண்ண ஆரம்பித்தாங்க. But in the 20th century, leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose lent their support to demands for greater equality and freedom for women. So in the 20th century, what are the two leaders supported women's empowerment? Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay. Okay children, before we enter into this topic, let me tell you about an important law. It was passed by British in the year 1929. For what purpose? The Child Marriage Restraint Act. It is called the Child Marriage Restraint Act. Why it was passed? Because in order to avoid the child marriage. Okay, so according to the act, no man below the age of 18 and women below the age of 16 could marry. So subsequently these limits were raised to 21 for men and 18 for women. Okay, so in which year the Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed? In the year 1929. Okay, fine. See, some of the social reformers about whom we have already discussed earlier also criticized caste inequalities. Uh, do you remember we discussed about Rajaram Mohan Rai, right? See, he translated a Buddhist text that was against the caste system. And the Pratna Samaj also stuck to the tradition of Bhakti that believed in the spiritual equality of all castes. They insisted spiritual equality of all castes. Then many of these reformers belonged to upper caste and tried to get rid of these social caste taboos. Okay, so even outsiders such as the Christian missionaries also questioned the discrimination being faced by some castes. So Christian missionaries opened many schools for tribal groups and lower caste children. These children were equipped with some resources to make their way into a changing world. So through these Christian missionary schools, these lower caste children and also tribal groups children got education. On the other hand, many poor people deserted their villages in search of work. So, in search of work, they migrated from their villages and they found work in the factories which were in the big cities. Okay, so this led to the expansion of cities. So, the demand for labor rose as they were required to dig drains, make roads and buildings and clean the cities. So, due to the expansion of cities, demand for labor was more. For what are the works they did? Digging drainage dig பண்றது, road facilities, infrastructure facilitiesக்காக வேண்டி நிறைய demand இருந்தது. So many people like diggers, coolies, sweepers, rickshaw pullers, etc. were required. So the poor from the villages started moving to the cities. Some also went to Mauritius, Trinidad and Indonesia in search of work. Okay. You know children, Indonesia, this Mauritius and all in Southeast Asia, Trinidad is in Caribbean island. Okay. In fact, some of them went to work in Assam plantations. Okay. So in this way, the lower caste people migrated from their villages. Then in fact they thought that this was an opportunity by the lower caste to save them from oppression. They thought that this was the opportunity to escape from the oppression of the upper caste. ஓகே, அந்தளவுக்கு அவங்கள வந்து ரொம்ப சப்ரஸ் பண்ணிகிட்டு இருக்கிறதுனால அவங்க இதுலேருந்து எஸ்கேப் ஆனால் போதும்னு நினச்சாங்க. Then there were some other jobs also, for example the army. Okay, people from Mahar caste who were regarded as untouchables found jobs in the army, and thus the regiment was formed known as Mahar regiment. So the people belong to Mahar community preferred to join in the army, so Mahar regiment was formed. Okay, but soon many people from different castes and groups started raising their voice for equality and justice. Okay, so we will see about it. See children, by the second half of the 19th century, people from non-Brahmin caste started movements against caste discrimination. And the caste discrimination, இந்த ஜாதி பாகுபாடை நீக்கணுங்கிறதுக்காக வேண்டி நிறைய பேர் வாய்ஸ் ரைஸ் பண்ணாங்க. See children, one more fact I want to tell you. See, Madigas. Madigas were an important untouchable caste of present-day Andhra Pradesh. Actually, they were experts at cleaning hides. Hides means that animal skin, tanning them for use, and sewing sandals. So, Madigas making shoes in the 19th century in Andhra Pradesh. Its picture has been given in your book. Just you look at this picture. Then Satnami movement was started by Ghazidas in central India. So who found Satnami movement? Satnami movement was started by Ghazidas. Where? It was in central India. Okay, see children, these are the movements rose against the what is that? Caste discrimination. So that don't forget it. This Satnami movement was started by Ghazidas in central India. He worked for the betterment of leather workers. And then at the same time in eastern Bengal, Haridas Thakur's Matua sector worked among the Chantala cultivators. Everywhere in the part of all over India, many movements came up. So, in eastern Bengal, Haridas Thakur's Matua sect worked among the Chandala cultivators. See, Haridas questioned texts that supported the caste system. At the same time, in Kerala, Sri Narayana Guru, who was a guru from Ezhava caste, manifested the ideals of unity for his people. So, Narayana Guru belonged to Kerala. He insisted the ideals of unity for his people. In fact, he was against the concept of treating people unequally on the basis of caste differences. So, according to him, all are humans and belong to the same caste. So, basically, all these sects were found by the non-Brahmana leaders. So, they tried to create a sense of self-respect among the lower caste and also change the habits which provoke the contempt of the high caste. Okay, so Narayana Guru said that all are unequal, all are human beings. So there is no caste differences. Okay, so they tried to that each one give respect to each other. Then self-respect we need, and one of his famous statement was Oru Jati, Oru Matham, Oru Devam, Manushayanu. That is one caste, one religion, one God for humankind. This is his quote. This statement was given by Sri Narayana Guru. Okay. Now we will discuss about Jyotirao Phule. Who was he? What was Gulamkari? Yes. Jyotirao Phule was born in the year 1827 in Maharashtra. He studied in schools set up by Christian missionaries. On growing up, he developed his own ideas about the injustice of caste society. So, he attacked Brahmanas by saying that they were not superior to others. He said that Brahmanas were the Aryans who came from outside the continent and defeated the true children of the country. So, he said that Aryans defeated the population of this country. Then they started dominating over them, considering them to be low caste people. So, according to Phule, the upper caste had no right to their land and power. Okay, in reality, the landowners were the so-called low caste. Okay, so he founded an association named Satya Sadok Samaj. So, Satya Sadok Samaj was founded by whom? Jyotirao Phule. Okay, and they propagated caste equality, and also he said that there was a golden period before Aryans came to our country. Okay, then the low caste were the cultivators and they led a fair and just life. Okay, and in 1873 he wrote a book called Gulamkiri, and he dedicated to the American Civil War, in which Americans had fought to free the slaves. அடிமையிலிருந்து விடுதலையாகணும்னு போராடின அந்த அமெரிக்கன் சிவில் வாருக்கு இதை டெடிகேட் பண்ணுறாரு. ஸோ he was even concerned for the plight of the upper caste women also. So this movement of caste reform was also carried forward by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar. Okay. So how did Dr. Ambedkar stand against the caste discrimination and what steps he took for that? We will discuss it now. Okay. See, who could enter temples? Ambedkar had noticed this since his childhood, that being from Mahar family. Dr. Ambedkar belonged to Mahar community. Okay. He was never allowed to sit in the class with upper caste boys or enter the temples. So when in 1927 he returned from the US, where he did his higher studies, due to the fellowship which he had received, he started fighting against this injustice and made 3 attempts of temple entry movement between the years 1927 to 1935. Okay, 1927 ல இருந்து 35 வரைக்கும் 1935 வரைக்கும் 3 times temple entry movement நடத்தினார். Who? Dr. Ambedkar. He attempted 3 times, okay, for against that class discrimination. Okay. Then this outraged Brahmin priest asked Dalits used water from the temple tank. His main aim was to make people see the power of caste prejudices within the society. Okay. So who led temple entry movement in the year 1927 and 1935? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay. Now we are going to see about the non-Brahmana movement. Okay. See children, in the early 20th century the non-Brahmana movement started. See, the educated, influential and wealthy non-Brahmin people played a leading role in opposing the superiority of the Brahmins. So one such personality was E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar, who was also called Periyar. Okay, he was born in a middle class family in 1879. Actually he joined the Congress as a youth. At a feast he found that the seating arrangement had been laid out according to caste. The lower castes were made to sit at a distance from the upper caste. He felt disgusted and left the Congress in 1924. So Periyar founded the self-respect movement in 1925. Suyamariyada Iyakam in the year 1925 he founded that worked for the awakening of the non-Brahmanas. Okay, he referred to Hinduism as full of superstitions. Then he advocated marriage ceremonies without the priest and wanted temples to be open for the untouchables. Okay, he stated that in order to achieve social equality, all the castes had to free themselves from all religions. Okay, so Periyar claimed that many of the religious texts such as Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita and quotes of Manu had been used by Brahmins to establish their authority over other castes. Okay, and for the domination of men over women. So the forceful speeches, writings and movements of lower caste leaders led to rethinking. But Orthodox Hindu society also reacted by founding Sanatan Dharma Sabhas and Bharat Dharma Mahamandal in the north and associations like the Brahman Sabha in Bengal. Okay, these are the associations that supported the caste system. The main aim of these associations was to justify the caste distinctions as a cornerstone of Hinduism. See, such debates and struggles are still present in our society. Okay. See children, now we are going to see many organizations formed by various reform leaders. Okay, they were The first one is the Brahma Samaj. See children, in 1830, Kashyap Chundar Sen, actually he was one of the main leaders of the Brahma Samaj. Okay. He prohibited all forms of idolatry and sacrifice believed in the Upanishads. Okay, and critically drew upon the ideals of religions, especially Hinduism and Christianity, looking at their positive and negative dimensions. Okay. Next, we will see about Young Bengal. See, formed by Henry Louis Vivant Derozio, a teacher at Hindu College, Calcutta, in 1820. He promoted radical ideas. His students attacked the tradition and customs. Then they demanded education for women, and they campaigned for the freedom of thought and expression. Okay, so Henry Louis Vivant Derozio, a teacher at Hindu College, Calcutta, in the 1820s, was the founder of Young Bengal movement. Okay. Next, we will see about Ramakrishna Mission. Actually, Ramakrishna Mission was founded by Swami Vivekananda after his guru's name Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Okay, Swami Vivekananda's original name was Narendranath Datta. He asked the youth to unite on the basis of a common spiritual heritage. His mission was to uplift the masses. Okay, so the Ramakrishna Mission was founded by Swami Vivekananda. Got it? Next, the Prarthana Samaj. It was founded in 1867 at Bombay. The main aim was to remove caste restrictions, abolish child marriage, then encourage women education and support widow remarriage. Okay. Next, the Veda Samaj. It was inspired by the Brahmo Samaj and was established in Madras in 1864. So the Veda Samaj was established in Madras in the year 1864. Actually, its main aim was to abolish caste distinction, promote widow remarriage and women education. Okay, they condemned the superstitious rituals. Mooda nambikaigalella avanga edukranga. Okay. Next, the Aligarh movement. See children, a college named the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College was founded by Syed Ahmad Khan in 1875 at Aligarh. So who founded the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College? Syed Ahmad Khan in the year 1875 at Aligarh. Okay. Later it became Aligarh Muslim University. So the institution offered modern education including Western science to Muslims. This movement led to a heavy impact in the area of education. Okay. Next, the Singh Sabha. The first Singh Sabha was formed at Amritsar in 1873 and then at Lahore in 1879. The main aim was sought to rid Sikhism of superstitious beliefs, caste distinction and non-Sikh practices. Okay, so these were the main aim of this Singh Sabha. Got it? I hope you all understood this chapter clearly. Thank you.